I'm Aaron Baker from PhoneDog.com, and I'm not crouching in front of the camera just to do my exercises in the office. It's because I was trying to make myself mini to compare myself to the HTC One Mini and Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini. They're the smaller versions of the flagship smartphones, and we're going to put them to the test in a dogfight battle. Which one will come out on top? Is it going to be the One Mini or the Galaxy S4 Mini? Let's find out in part one. It's a dogfight battle between two babies that have bigger brothers that we've already put head-to-head together in a phone dog video. This is the HTC One Mini. This is the Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini. Mini versions of their respective bigger brothers, but not just mini devices with the same specs. There are a lot of differences between the mini versions and their older brothers. Before we get too far into this dogfight, I'm going to thank my partners at Best Buy Mobile for giving us devices like the One Mini and like the Galaxy S4 Mini for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working, so while you can't get these, they'll help you set up your One, your Galaxy S4, so when you walk out the door, you're good to go thanks to Best Buy Mobile. So let's jump right in and talk about specifications here. You've got the HTC One, pardon me, I'm still recovering from a cold, the HTC One Mini over here with a little bit of a smaller processor. It's not a quad-core processor, it's a dual-core CPU. It's a 1.4 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon 400 CPU over here with 1 gigabyte of RAM, a 4.3-inch HD display on this device. You've still got the same 4 ultra-pixel camera on the back, but no optical image stabilization here. 1,800 milliamp hour battery, and I should point out this is a 4.3-inch display, like I said, 720p, 341 ppi. Android 4.2.2 out of the box here is evident by the shortcuts up here in the notifications bar area. And a couple of other things, but design-wise very closely preserves the HTC One design language. Metal on the back. You do get a plastic ring around the device that's a little bit different from the HTC One that you know and love, or maybe you don't love it, who knows, but the HTC One that's available right now on the respective carriers in the States. You got your micro SIM card. The placement of everything is very similar. The biggest difference is plastic around the side. The volume rocker button has been separated into 2 buttons, and then that is about it, with the exception of the fact, like I said, the plastic is there and obviously the specs are a little bit different. Galaxy S4 Mini, give you a comparison rundown here. Galaxy S4 Mini is packing a 1.7 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon 400 CPU. So from a clock speed perspective, faster than the HTC One Mini. 1.5 gigabytes of RAM, a 4.3-inch display as well, though I should point out it is a QHD display, 540 by 960 pixels with 256 ppi, 8 megapixel camera with 1080p HD recording. On the back you got your battery here. Behind the battery door, 1,900 milliamp hour battery, Android 4.2.2 Jelly Bean on this device as well with Samsung's TouchWiz user interface. So TouchWiz versus Sense 5 back in the saddle for a phone dog battle. I did not mean to make that rhyme, but that did rhyme, and so that makes me super excited. So let's talk about Android 4.2.2 on both of these devices. Jumping right into the applications here, both of these are unlocked devices. These are not available on carriers in the US just yet, but you can buy them through online specialty retailers. This one coming soon, Galaxy S4 Mini, is available now at Negri Electronics. That's online at negrielectronics.com. They'll hook you up with the Galaxy S4 Mini or some of these other mini variants like the HTC One Mini when they're available to the distributor. So apps here, we'll load these up and take a look at what you get out of the box. Typical stuff here, 7 Digital, all the G-Talk stuff, I should say, or Google Plus stuff. Nothing really amazing here. Sense 5 look and feel preserved. You know and either love it or hate it, depending on what your preference is between these two. You got your applications here, and I can come down here and sort these by custom, alphabetical, most recent, and again I can come down here and do grid size and do 3x4 or 4x5. Now let's talk about what's not included between these and their older brothers. So obviously not included here versus the HTC One, optical image stabilization in the camera. You do not get the TV application because the power button does not have an IR blaster hidden inside of it, so you don't get that option. You do get that over here. Watch On is still available. There's an IR blaster up top, and Samsung's Watch On service is available through the Galaxy S4 Mini, so you do preserve at least that software benefit on the Galaxy S4 Mini over the HTC One. So you've got that and a couple of other Samsung applications as well. S-Voice, Samsung Apps, Samsung Hub, Samsung Link, S-Memo, S-Translator as well. So to an extent, this can be your partial life companion, but if you want the full life companion, you're going to have to go with the Samsung Galaxy S4. I laugh as I say that, but that's pretty much the truth. You're going to have to go with the Galaxy S4 if you want some of the fitness stuff and more like S Health and things like that. Not to mention just S Health, but when you go into the application, you go into settings here and you see my device connections and more, you can see the typical stuff here, NFC and S-Beam, and then you got out of the settings, blocking mode, driving mode, safety assistance, power saving mode, and then down here at the bottom you'll see stuff like motions and gestures, smart screen, and then language and input. Now, you may be thinking, what's different between this and the Galaxy S4? Now, you notice that AirView is missing down here as well. So AirView on the Samsung Galaxy S4 shows that helpful information, or unhelpful depending on your take, but it allows you to hover over stuff like information previews, progress previews, speed dial previews. You don't get any of that on the Galaxy S4 Mini. So keep that in mind if you're used to the Galaxy S4 and you automatically think that this has the same software features, very similar in the look and feel, but does not have that. So that's something to keep in mind. And very similar over here with the HTC One Mini. You do miss out on a couple of those things. The TV application, optical image stabilization, and the camera. Otherwise, pretty fluid and pretty similar to what you see on the HTC One, at least the international version, with Android 4.2.2 here. And you can see all the shortcuts. I can go right into settings. I've got some personalization options as well. For the full rundown, take a look at the respective reviews of these two devices, but we're just going to talk about some of the settings here and more. So obviously wallpaper, lock screen style, all of that stuff is still the same here. The biggest difference, we'll go into display gestures and buttons. Actually, you know what, we'll go back and take a look at personalization, and we'll go down here to lock screen style. You do get the wallpaper one, the productivity one, and then down here you get a widget one as well as part of Android 4.2.2. And from that widget lock screen, I should have gone back and done that. From the menu, I'll go into widget again so you can see what I'm talking about. Go to settings, and I've got a couple of different widgets here I can set on the home screen. So Gmail, for example, go ahead and do inbox, and now when I turn the phone off and back on, I've got that right there. Now Samsung has their own kind of interesting widget set up here as well. We'll go to display, we'll go to, lock screen. Multiple widgets if you want them, lock screen widgets. I can do favorite apps or camera. Let's go ahead and figure out our favorite applications. Or I should say, okay, I only have two options, my favorite apps menu or my camera. So I've got those choices, and when I turn it off and back on, you'll see swipe left or right, yep, to view your widgets, good, do not show again, and you can see my favorite widgets there. And then if I want additional ones, I can add them here, and it gives me kind of more of a stock Android look and feel, if you will. I'm not restricted to just the 3 or 4 that HTC provides. I got a couple of different options here, including messaging, which while I'm not a huge fan of these widgets, this is the one I would use the most right here. But again, still kind of a Samsung looking widget here versus a stock Android looking widget, but I can compose messages directly from there, and I can do it from this one as well. Stick around for part 2. We'll pick right up with the keyboards. We'll talk about quadrant standard camera settings, and we'll make a decision as to which one is the best in this phone dogfight battle between the One Mini and the Galaxy S4 Mini.